We are back on BNN Bloomberg 1410 AM, also 103.5 FM, HD3, and streaming through Spotify. Check out Agencyclick as Agencyclick presents Everything Film with Film Robot. Joe Leary and Patrick Shelton from Film Robot, actually in Film Robot's offices today.
Absolutely.
Nice to be here. This is show number 6, by the way, the ongoing series of shows where we talk literally everything film and all manner of that. Our guest is Michele Partridge. She is a former actor herself, went into casting, produced short films, a feature film, video games, commercials, and you've been teaching acting, public speaking, and improv for a quarter century.
Oh, my God.
YourConfidenceCoach.ca. Welcome to Everything Film. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. This is a beautiful office.
Not bad at all.
Gorgeous day, and yeah.
So the first question that comes to mind before we get into why you morphed from what you began with to where you are now, in simplest definition, what is a confidence coach?
It's a really good question.
Thank you.
Confidence coach. Well, it is, I help people, I would say actually, from little, like 5 years old to, I think my oldest student I ever taught was 88. Yes, and she was so much fun, so many stories. And I've been teaching acting for 25 years, but in that time, because I was an acting teacher, I have also been teaching TED Talk speakers and politicians with media coaching and business people helping to communicate better with their clients, having to associate with the business people that they work with as well. Really the social skills, body language. So I thought, when I decided to sell my acting studio, because we had to close the doors due to COVID, then we successfully went online and we ended up having students worldwide. So I now still have students in Dubai, Kuwait, London, all over the world, which is so great to be able to teach acting to everybody. I just thought, I don't want to do this anymore and have 10 teachers. I love my teachers, but I want to just teach more. Because you can't do that when you own a business. Sometimes you have to do everything else. Right?
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't public speaking people's biggest fear?
Yes.
It is.
Yes, it is. And I help them find their superpower because everybody has it. Everybody has a superpower, but they don't recognize it. So I help them and I see it. It's kind of a weird superpower I have, where I can see what your thing is that you need to promote.
That's fantastic.
And what your branding is. Yeah, and I help them do that.
So you see us for the first time then.
Yeah.
Tell us each of our superpowers here.
Oh, that's very interesting. You guys have a really interesting dynamic. This is going to sound really airy-fairy, but you could tell that you're extroverted and you've got a great voice. You could definitely tell you've been doing radio. And you are confident in the way you speak and how you handle yourself. And your superpower is definitely your confidence. You have that already built in, which is great. And your eye contact is fantastic.
Thank you.
And Patrick, on the other hand, is he's always smiling and he's laughing. So you guys actually make a really good team. I mean, I don't find so much that you're an extrovert, but you have a lot of great thoughts and questions probably, and get into the nitty gritty of things.
So I think you're actually a psychic. You're not a confidence coach. I just got read there, Joe.
Yeah, you did.
I got a reading.
Your tea leaves got read.
There you go. So I told you it's a superpower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and who generally avails themselves? Is it the person individually, or like in the case of young people, is it their parents or relatives that try and lead them? And what signs are they exhibiting that makes one think you need a confidence coach?
It's a good question. For younger kids, over the years, parents have come to me as an acting teacher saying, I really want to put my child into acting to help them not be so shy. And the first question I say is, does your child want to do this? Because that is so important, that they want to be there. And sometimes they show up and the kid had no idea that this is where they were going. And of course, they shut down. But acting teachers have a way of, you join us when you're ready. We're going to play some games. And of course, it's so much fun. Pre-COVID, of course, you can play around. And then, over time, these little butterflies start to happen and the parents cry at the performances when they see their child acting and laughing and finding their thing. Because they didn't know it was their thing until they were introduced to it. And it was a safe environment where there were other people just like them. And so,
well, I like the approach you have, because I think and our show is a lot about talking to up and coming people that are just trying to make it. So as far as acting goes, or going into a room, you have to kind of own the room and have confidence, because somebody, if you've got 5 minutes to be in an audition, I'm sure you go through a timing thing. You've got 5 minutes in this room. You got to show your best self pretty quick, right?
Yep. 100%. And I always try to make sure actors and everybody out there realize, truly understands there's nobody like you. You are unique. And so what your job as an actor is to prepare the best you can for this role and say, okay, it's my time to shine. It's my turn to act. I'm going to show you what I've got. And hopefully it's a good fit for you. And I always say with casting, you got to imagine that you're going out shopping. Because casting is like this: when you're looking for a new outfit for an event and you have no idea what you want, and then you go into a store and the person says, "Can I help you?" And you say, "No, I know it when I see it." That's exactly what casting is. Right? They don't know. So it's your job as an actor just to do your best you can, do your job, prepare, blow them away. And if it's not a good fit, you were professional. You came in, blew them away, made them look great. They'll call you back again. So,
Michele Partridge, yourconfidencecoach.ca. This is Everything Film with Film Robot, streaming through Spotify. Check out Agencyclick. Also, BNN Bloomberg, 1410 AM, 103.5 FM, HD3. There's that terminology, the it factor. So you can take someone without it and find the it in them.
Well, I definitely know when I meet an actor who has it. And it's
intangible. I mean, it's something about them, their aura, their presence, something that just says, you've got it, whatever it is.
Absolutely. They have a presence. And sometimes they don't even realize it. They're just so casual about it. But that doesn't mean to say that because you're not born with it, whatever it is, you can definitely teach somebody. I would never say that I am a pianist, but I learned how to play. I definitely wasn't born with it, but I'm okay. And you can be an okay actor and still do be your creative self and still do your projects. I think what happens now is, unfortunately with acting, that celebrity thing is part of what happens, right? And the whole social media.
The Kardashian factor?
Yes, that might have something to do with it. The whole reality shows,
Well, I always look at people and I always think that there's a luck factor in anything too. You could be a hockey player, you could be anything, and you had to get a good route too, right? But you create your own luck. But imagine if a big star decided to do a Burger King commercial, right? Because they needed to pay the money or something, and then that just took everything away. So if you look at a lot of the famous people, they've all had these great roles from when they're 15 or whatever, right? I'm saying, so do you kind of agree with me? You create your own luck, but there has to be something there as well where you can be directed, but at the same time, you got to make right choices for a long time.
Honestly, I think it's that listening to your gut thing.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about that with acting, because actors, we have to be able, you teach improv, go with your gut. Go with the first choice, because if you don't, you could pick that second choice. It's always the wrong choice in life and, in improv. But just listen to it, and it's usually right. So I always say, surround yourself with positive people, kind people. Those are the people that you want to work with. Recognize toxic environments, because it does come back to you. And so if you're just honestly, I believe in that. If you're a kind soul, good opportunities will come to you.
You mentioned improv, and I want to drill down on that a bit, because improv to me is something that you either have it or you don't. I don't know. Can you teach improv?
Yes,
you can.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, I don't mean. Okay, give me a profession. Construction worker. Give me a scenario. You're in Starbucks. Go. I can't do that.
Yes, you can. I bet I can
maybe
teach
a
you.
Challenge. Maybe down the road we'll have Michele back on and
there you
we'll
go.
do some improv. No, but how do you teach that skill? I mean, again, if you've got the confidence, or if you've got the ability maybe to do some characterizations or what have you, I just think I'm devoid of that.
Nonsense. It's creative. It's creative play. We forget that as adults. We forget, because, when you're little, everything is a little new world, an imagination world. Kids are always dreaming and coming up with things. It's just as we get older, we have more responsibility. You're not allowed to dream anymore. You're not allowed to play. So it's just, you're allowed to play. Once you're allowed to do that, and you get, you guys are like, are you ready to play? But once you're allowed to play, things happen. we don't start off right away with scenarios. We work into that. We start with sound and movement. So if I do a sound, wah, and a movement like that, you have to copy me, give me your interpretation. You do the same thing. And then we start adding creative motions and things. So you're okay. You don't feel embarrassed because we're all in this together. And then you start challenging yourself with different scenarios. You listen to your voice, your breath. It's an amazing process. And it does get harder as you go, but it's a fun harder as you go. Then you have homework and you get better the more you do it, like anything.
She is Michele Partridge, yourconfidencecoach.ca. Talk about your beginnings. You were an actor yourself and then became a casting director. You produced. Were you a dissatisfied actor? Were you what's the word I'm looking for? Just, this isn't for me, this isn't enough, there's better out there? Was that your scenario?
Well, it's funny because I'm 53, just turned 53. So I always talk about with actors how much easier it is for them now. Before the internet, it was very challenging. As you know, a lot of us, I was talking to Linda about this, we had to do everything by hand. We had to mail things, we had to drop it off, we had to pick up the phone, cold call. It was very challenging. So as an actor, you had to get out there and get casting to come and see your work. So after I graduated high school, I was definitely in drama in high school. I went traveling for a few years because I wanted to see the world, and I studied in London. And I came back and I said, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out there? And the internet still wasn't around. This is when Stephen J. Cannell had set up here at 21 Jump Street and all of that. And we were all theater trained actors. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start by training at the Film Actors Studio. And I couldn't afford classes, but I had some marketing behind me. So I exchanged that for classes. So then I thought, okay, well, let's do some theater. So I started a theater company, unbeknownst to me that I was a producer. I had no idea what that word meant. I just thought, I got to get money. I got to get props. I got to get sets, and I wanted to be the lead. So I had a called Last of the Red Hot Lovers by Neil Simon, and I wanted to play one of the main leads. So I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to get a director. And it just kind of went from there. And being an entrepreneur, when you're 18, that's when I moved out, I want to do that. This is before the internet. I read some books. Okay, I'm going to figure it out. And that's literally how I've done most of my life and various careers. So then friends were doing films. They asked me to help with casting. I knew a lot of actors. And it just sort of goes from there, that way. And then that's when I went into producing film and commercials and starting my first acting school called the Studio on the Drive. Co-founded that. And then sold that, went to make video games, electronic arts. We were making The Sims. We didn't know it was called The Sims at the time. So that was a fun gig until I got pregnant with my first and like, I can't spend 12 hours a day making video games. I need to be at home with my baby. So we moved out to White Rock. And I have a husband as well. Met my husband along the way, who's a prop guy in the film industry, who still is today. He's on Flash, the TV series. And so started a second acting school and then a third, and now I've gone on. I do a lot of advocacy work for arts and culture in where we live, and I work a lot with the city of White Rock. And yeah, it's just and plus raised 2 kids along the way. So.
Well, as we're in the COVID environment, it's really kneecapped the arts community. When will that rebound, and how does that look going forward?
The arts community?
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, in our community of White Rock, South Surrey, it was devastating, of course, because that's the biggest one hit. I mean, you're still not allowed to go and see any live theater or do anything, as we all know. So we decided everything's going online. As a community, we thought we're going to help each other. So we co-founded the Peninsula Arts and Culture Alliance. So once a month, we group together with the dancers and the singers and the theater groups and the artists, visual artists, all mediums, and we support one another. And everybody started creating content online. How do we do it? How do we film it? And what's the best place to do it? And, is it going to cost us any money? It was just all a new landscape. And unfortunately, I had to close the drama class because I couldn't afford the bricks and mortar studio anymore. But then we successfully went online. And so did a lot of other acting studios. And the beauty of that is now we can teach worldwide. And I was the biggest skeptic. I didn't think you could successfully teach acting online because, of course, there is that, in your face, you know, connecting. But I would say at least 75% of the craft can definitely successfully be taught online. And that's what I've been doing. I teach Acting 101. I teach commercial auditioning for families. I teach online. I teach a lot. You know?
One of the things, I'm a big advocate of training now, and I never was before when I was younger in my 20s and stuff. Like I remember watching Tony Robbins and he was selling the tapes, and I would be like, he just wants my money. He's like, if he's so great, why does he need to sell me, you know, DVDs or whatever, right? It's like,
But he's still doing it.
well, no, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, I go like, yeah, so I would ignore it, but I probably should have done it at some point and done more of that. As I get older, I find that, like, yeah, training is good. You don't know everything. So there's a process to everything that maybe somebody's learned, and you could take like years off of somebody's venture. Like that's why I see when I look at you. So talking to our young and up and coming actors or whatever, they come see you and they say, I'm an actor.
Yes.
And then, but I don't have an agent and I don't have any headshots. And is there a process that you would set them on?
Yes. I have this conversation every day.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm getting at. I'm going because this is what people, you know, I want to bring it back because this is what people are going to come to Agencyclick and ask, how do I do this? So somebody's coming, just tell me the process. What you like, is it 2 weeks training and then you're ready, or do you go run around and get an agent first? Like,
No.
Okay. Well, just kind of explain what you would give advice to somebody to do.
Okay. So I have parents emailing me from babies to adults.
Right.
And say if it's an adult and they're in their 20s and they say, okay, I took some acting in high school and I'm 24 now and I want to do it. I really want to do this. Okay, great. So have you had any training since high school? No. You're a different human now than you were then. So you need to get into training. You need to start at the very beginning. Well, but I took some classes in high school. Doesn't matter. You are a different human. So because we are understanding ourselves, because that's what we're using in our craft. So you must start at the beginning. Understand the craft. And it is a craft, just like anything. And I always say, maybe you took a workshop. If I took a workshop to go ice skating, and then at the end of it, I'm going to go now try out for the Canucks. That's what so many people think it is. They can take a weekend workshop, go get an agent and start auditioning for Hallmark. It doesn't work that way, because what you're doing is you're also, that confidence in your craft has to be built up, and it's not something you can do in a weekend. So we need to figure out, first of all, get on set, be an extra. Do you even like this world? Is it what you think it is?
Right.
Next, start with the training, Acting 101 or a beginner class. Get some monologues. Understand script analysis, script development. Then look at yourself. What is your branding? You're going to start out with commercials first, probably. Most agents want to see what you've got. How are you in front of casting? Or even with the self-tape process, which is a huge thing right now. If you're an actor, you must understand how to do self-tapes. That's part of your job. So I have all of these workshops that I do on Zoom on how to put yourself on tape successfully, because there's technical things you must know. This understanding how to edit it. There's understanding moments in the script, analysis. So what is your branding? What is your agent going to send you out for? What types of commercials? What is your look? So, for example, for yourself, Patrick, what is your look? What would you say you would go out for commercial-wise?
That's a tough one. I'm probably like a player on the Canucks or something. Or
there's a lot of
what do you
player
think?
on the Canucks.
So I would say dad. One of your shots would be like a dad role, right? Another shot would be a corporate executive. Someone is like a white collar worker. Another one is a blue collar worker.
How about a lawyer in like Law and Order? And I
absolutely.
I just get to object.
Yeah.
I just keep objecting.
Yeah, more for commercials though, right? You want to have that look, because it's all about those characters.
No, it is interesting that people have to fall into that, because they probably don't know what's the right. Like you just put me on the spot there, and I kind of went, what? I don't know.
Exactly, and that's how you have to think about it. So I say, watch commercials, see the commercials that you could go out for and things that you can audition for.
Right.
Then we start learning the process. What is an SOC? How do you be a spokesperson? What are they looking for in that respect?
SOC, silent on camera?
Correct.
Yes.
So that's a lot, very good. It's a lot of improv.
Right.
So there's no specific dialogue, but you do have to talk when you have an SOC audition.
Right.
And that goes back to improv, right? You've got to get some improv under your belt. And I always say, okay, now you've done commercials. How do I make the leap from that to film and TV? This is the amount of training. Training. You're never going to stop training as an actor. You're always going to be training. I mean, think about it. If you don't take any classes or anything for 6 months, and all of a sudden you have a 10 pages of dialogue for a self-tape due, how do you think you're going to do?
Right. I think you need to also, if people go into an environment, it's really nice to know what you're getting into and what you to expect.
Yep.
Like, to maybe even simulate what it's going to be, right? Like when you walk into a room and you got two people saying, what's your name? Go, right? What? You're not going to get your best performance, right?
Well, yeah, you're there again to do your job.
Yeah.
And I always say at the end of the 8-week class, at the end of this class, you're going to realize, do I want to do this?
Right.
Do I want to do commercials and improv? Yes, but I don't want to do the other stuff. Okay, great. Or this other path is, yes, I love the craft of acting. I definitely want to learn more. I want to go into scene study. I want to do a lot. Great. So at least by the end of a class like that, you have an idea of what the world is.
Michele Partridge, yourconfidencecoach.ca. I'm just going to wax nostalgic for a second because I had a brief foray into the world of acting some years back. I met someone who worked at an agency, and she said, you should try it out. Why not? You might make some decent dough. You never know. So I went downtown here to get some headshots done. And again, that whole situation was weird because this guy is like literally circling around me, and I'm going like, what is going on here? So I'm just trying to sense you. Sense you. And I thought he was crazy. But when the end result, the pictures did look pretty good. But I remember going into a casting for a A&W French and English commercial. And I was cast as just a morning commuter. We were all carpooling. And so I went to the casting place, and there's everybody dressed just like me with an attaché case and all of that. And I remember after we did the audition, all we had to do was we had to say, morning and bonjour. That was it. And so they had 4 chairs, like we would be seated in a car. And I just remember walking out of there, and they go, hey, that's great. Thank you. We've got your info, right? Okay, that's great. And, of course, I didn't get it. I want to know why. Why wouldn't they I would rather them go, you know what, Joe? It's not for you. This one is not for you. Is that just a casting thing that you just don't want to be the bad guy? Is that it? I waited by the phone. It's like I was crushed. I thought, you know what, this isn't for me.
Well, there's so many things that are at play there. Casting's job is to bring us your best actors. And so they're going to ask for one role. They're going to see now they'll see 75 tapes in a day. Before it was 20 people in person. So bring us your best. And they don't, like I said, they don't know what they want, but they get it. They can see your energy. They can see something about it. And they can't tell you tangibly what it is they're looking for, but it's a vibe. It's a look. It's a feeling. It's something. They can't tell you. So you did nothing wrong. Absolutely. An actor never does anything wrong unless maybe you forgot your lines or
it was morning and then bonjour. That
exactly.
Was it. It's pretty hard to not be able to recite that from memory. But that was my one.
If you get a job interview, that's always bothered me in any career.
Yeah.
Like they always do that. You have a job interview and they never tell you right there. They go like, okay, thank you, and they're very polite and they say, okay, thank you. It could be in any field, and you leave. And you wait 2 days, and that's always driven me crazy too, whether you get it or not.
But this is a new problem.
Same thing.
This is what bothers me about today's environment. Just even applying for a job. In the old days, you would go and see the personnel manager, and they could get a sense. Maybe your resume didn't look great, but they might go, this person's got something. I like their stuff. Yeah. Now it's all done randomly through HR. You don't actually get in front of a person generally. Is the casting process still? Is it mano a mano, or is it done? You get a chance to. I mean, not in the COVID era, obviously, but generally speaking, can you still walk into the room so that people like such as yourself, when you were casting, could get a sense of what he or she is all about?
The moment you walk in that room, you are auditioning.
Right.
Like is you as a person, and they want to meet you. It's chit chat, that kind of thing. So everything that you are doing, that confidence has to be there, because if you think about it. You don't want to have a doctor come in the room and be really insecure and nervous. You want them to be focused and have and be confident in their ability. And so that's why practice is so important for actors, and to take audition classes. So you don't put the casting on a pedestal. I always say everybody's in this together. They're just trying to do their job, and they're just trying to see if you're a good fit. They want you to book it so they can stop auditioning people and go home, right? So don't be, I mean, it's hard to say don't be nervous, but just know that we're all storytellers, and we're just trying to find the right pieces to tell that story. So if they think of it that way.
Well, the other thing with casting that's they're working, and because you are full of like being excited and everything, doesn't mean that people like they could be putting in a 12-hour, 15-hour day. They're exhausted. And they actually don't even like their job, and that's a very interesting thing, right? Like people think that everybody's in the film industry, but you know, you've got people on series and they've been there coming every day for years, and so they get burnt out a bit. So, and I mean, I don't say that lightly, but that's you know, it's a job, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Those people are working, and they're working really hard. And I think just because the end result is we watch it on TV for half an hour, we think, oh, that's really like, but no, right? There's a lot.
Well, there's a huge expectation now, especially for series work. And because it is like little movies every episode. And so the caliber has to be here. And so it is, you don't get rehearsal time. You know, you're a day call, you show up. It's like, and this machine is going, 100 people are moving. And you just kind of have to go in and hope that you do a good job.
Right. Well, you know what? Your husband, like with the props, you must have like, why are you there for so long, right? Like, imagine, right? Like, I mean, it's not like you just go there and, you know, put the props in. It's probably hunting for it, working on it, setting it up, building stuff.
That's what he does. He's on Flash right now. And I think they're going into their sixth season. And he's the head designer. Yeah. So anything that blows up or is a mask or something like that, that's his gig, right? Bombs. I mean, our house is very interesting.
I'm sure.
Exactly.
So
there's a lot of preparation.
A lot. And we are a service industry to the States, right? So I would say, I'm just throwing this out there, maybe 90% of the productions here are service industry from the States. So, and then 10%. And it's not only film and television, it's motion capture, it's voiceover. There's a huge demand for voiceover actors and productions and cartoons and things being shot here, web series, industrials, internal commercials. I mean, there's just so much going on here. It's crazy. But it's the ideal place to shoot.
Yep.
YourConfidenceCoach.ca. Her name is Michele Partridge. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I love talking about this.
We'll have you back. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.